hello and welcome. My name's Joanna Minchinton and I'm the Head of Legal and Consulting at IRiQ Law. My colleague who will be talking about the majority of today's changes, Christy Chacko, is an associate with IRiQ Law and I must say is someone who knows quite a lot about what's been happening, and that's the reason why we decided to run this webinar today to provide you with these important updates that have been happening in this industry. Please let me start today's presentation by acknowledging and paying respects to the traditional owners on the lands on which we meet. I would also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. For me here, I'm based in Brisbane, Minchinton, and it's the Jagera and Turrbal people I pay my respects to. Now, today's presentation contains general information about the key changes, and the information that we're providing is to keep you informed about the work value case, the progress of it, and where it has landed. You will hear a little bit of information about some potential changes still to occur, and Christy will talk about that later in the presentation. Please be aware, though, that the information that we're providing today does not represent legal advice. If you are concerned about anything that we are going through and what that might mean for you and your business and operations, then do please feel free to contact us and we can provide you with formal advice relating to your situation. As mentioned, my colleague Christy will be co-presenting, but she will be presenting the majority of the information. As mentioned, Christy's very knowledgeable in matters relevant to this industry, as quite a few of you who are joining us today would be aware and have dealt with Christy before. So Christy contributes to a lot of the work that we do for our clients in any number of industries. So some housekeeping, we're recording this presentation. The participants online, your cameras are off and you are muted. We've done this to avoid any potential background noise interruptions as we go through, but you do have a Q&A chat function. So if you have a look at the top of your toolbar, there's a Q&A. We will be monitoring it if you would like to put in any comments or questions. Given that we are limited in our time today, we may not get to every single question that you are putting forward. So I will ask that you please put your name. I know that some people, if they're joining via mobile, it comes up with a number rather than a name. So please identify yourself in your chat questions so that we can ensure that we can follow up with you. We will be also providing the slides post the event, so stay tuned for that. That will come through within a couple of days of today's recording. Again, it's general information, but if you do have any specific questions, please talk to us following the webinar. You can see on your screen our agenda. We are covering a lot of information today, and it is valuable information that you can go through in follow-up, digest the information. It's there on the slides for you so that in a couple of months' time, you know what we were talking about and it makes sense. So in terms of the agenda, we'll provide some background to the work value case, and then we'll move into a sector breakdown, talk about the changes, then, importantly, what those changes mean for you as an employer, some compliance risk and action items to be aware of, and then finally, how IRiQ can help you in follow-up to any questions that you have. So moving on, let's talk about the work value case. What is it? So a lot of you have probably heard about the case or seen some commentary about this. Essentially what the work value case is a case looking at the aged care industry and looking at whether award wages adequately reflect the skills, responsibilities and work conditions of aged workers. So a work value case is something that a party can bring forward to the Fair Work Commission. In this case, it originated from an application to vary the aged care award, and then we saw some subsequent award variations coming from the relevant unions for the Nurses Award and also for the Social Community, Home Care and Disability Services Industry Award. For the purposes of today, we're calling it the SHADS Award. That's a lot easier than the tongue twister that the award is called. But those three awards collectively were examined as part of the work value case. The stages that the Commission went through, there were 3 stages, each one looking at particular circumstances. So stage 1, you would have been aware about a 15% interim increase to minimum rates for direct care workers, both in the residential and the home aged care settings. We then saw a decision come out in relation to stage 2 in February 2023. That was also a 15% interim increase. That was looking at direct care workers, head chefs and cooks under the Aged Care Award, and a few other classifications as well. Stage 3, we saw a decision in relation to all workers covered by the Aged Care Award, except those dealt with in Stage 2, changes in the SHADs and also the nurses. So we've seen a lot happening when it comes to the changes, and in our view, it's one of the largest structural shifts we've seen in the aged care sector. On your screen, we do have a link to the page on the Fair Work Commission website. Now, I will warn you, for those of you who do click on the link once you've received this, there's a lot of information. There are decisions, there's statements, there's submissions, determinations, but this is a really great source of additional information if you wanted to have a look at that. So that's the background. That's what the work value case is. What we might do now is move into talking about some of the specifics. So I'd like to hand over to Christy.
Thank you, Jo, for that introduction, and thank you, Jo, for talking us through the work value cases and setting the context for for the changes. And let's now navigate through what these key changes are. I'm sure most of you attending today have already gone through these changes, ideally, because they have already most of it have been implemented as of 1st of Jan 2025. So I now, during the course of the next few slides, we will quickly walk through some of the key changes that I thought is worth mentioning today to ensure that largely that your businesses are compliant with all the changes that have come into being. So as Jo mentioned, with the work value cases affecting the aged care sector, it did bring about changes to 3 main awards, one being the Aged Care Award, second being the SHADS Award, and then the Nurses Award. We are dealing with the Aged Care Award and the SHADS Award slightly in detail today. Now, in relation to the Aged Care Award, one of the key changes that we saw was a definition for direct care, aged care employee being inserted into the definition section of the classifications, which the Commission has updated the Aged Care Award to add this definition. And it is crucial in terms for clarifying the roles and responsibilities of a direct care worker, because a lot of the changes that have happened is essentially what has been done is kind of a bit of a tidying around the classification structure itself to create a separate schedule, essentially showing how the aged care direct care, care employees would be classified, and what are the credentials, what are the skills required, the competencies required, and also being consistent with the theme of the work value case, which is to identify the skills and ensure that the work value is accurately identified, and understanding the complexity of the aged care industry, all these changes have come into being. So one is, as mentioned, the definition of direct care, that therefore is a very crucial addition. As you're all aware of, this um, definition is very straightforward and has already come into effect from the 1st of Jan 2025. We are talking about a lot of personal care workers, lifestyle recreational staff, and activity officers who would fall within the definition of this direct care. The Commission is also included within this definition. This is not an exhaustive list of the duties, but it does give us an indication of the kind of duties that would be viewed as direct care being provided. It is not essentially just catering to the physical needs of the elderly, but it could be emotional support, emotional care and social support, or participation in social recreational activities, etc. So just bear in mind that it is really not an exhaustive list. And then the other key change, that has, I mean, not key change, the other definition that has been included within the aged care award that I thought is worth mentioning is the aged carer experiences that are required as well. That is any previous work as a direct care employee under this or an equivalent award. It could also be under the SHADS award. It would also be considered as aged care experiences for the purposes of the award. Now, moving on to the next slide. This is in fact where the definition, this is the building block essentially. Like we had the definition of the aged care, direct care being properly defined, and then moving forward, that leads us to the next change, the key change that happened. That was the new 6th level classification structure for direct care employees within the aged care sector, which creates clear career pathways and better recognition, just the recognizing the increasing complexities of aged care work and also the challenges that the industry is facing to retain employees, identify the right talent, ensuring that it's a highly regulated industry, that you are compliant with the various compliance mechanisms that are in place. So essentially, this classification level, again, which came into being from 1st of Jan 2025, this didn't come separate. It comes in association with a translation arrangement, which essentially would have enabled you to map your current workforce to this classification level. Just quickly walking through the classification levels, as you can see, it is broken down into 6 levels. We have starting with level 1 to level 6. So I'm not going to read through what each of these levels means. But having said that, there is a clearer, this has been provided to ensure that there's a clear indication of what are the qualifications, what are the experiences that are required to ensure that the employees are mapped to the correct level. Like for instance, a direct carer with less than 3 month experience would be a level 1, whereas a direct carer employee with more than 3 months of experience would be a level 2 employee. And if there's someone who is a team leader, a Cert 4, or a supervisor, has supervision and training responsibilities, they would be categorized as a level 6. So as you can see, this is a clearly structured arrangement, and a lot of thought process and a lot of thinking has gone into ensuring that it is properly structured and laid out, and also to ensure that there is a proper career progression pathway for those engaged in this sector. Now, similar to the change that I spoke about in the Aged Care Award, you can see, I thought it's worthwhile, instead of just, because a lot of these changes are very similar across the Aged Care and the SHADS Award in terms of, again, defining the direct care, including a definition for, the Aged Care stream direct care experiences, and then also the classification levels. Those of you who have had employees employed under the SHADS Care Award would have seen the introduction of a new schedule, Schedule F, from 1st of Jan 2025, again done with this earlier used to be part. It used to be home care, disability, and aged care. So now what the schedule has done with this, with the wage value cases from 1st of Jan, is bifurcating it and separating it, and ensuring that that there is a separate schedule that identifies the home care work that is covered by SHATs provided to the elderly, provided to the aged care. So essentially, you can see that again, there is a sixth level classification structure that has evolved as a result, which also came with the translation arrangements, which I will share with you in just a couple of slides down. Again, this clearly introduces the different classification levels, ranging from introductory to the team leader level, and ensuring that, again, the right talent, the right skills, the right competencies are matched to each appropriate level. So the expectation is that the existing employees up until that point of time were, mapped. You reconsider what has been, reconsider their existing classification until the 30th of December and 30th of December 2024, and that from 1st of January, they are ideally mapped to the to the new classification levels. And any employee who has been employed since would fall within these new classification levels. The next one that we have, in terms of the changes that have come about, as you're all aware of, is, and as Joe spoke about, is the increase in the wages that has been one of the crucial elements of the work value cases. And we saw that from 1st of Jan 2025, general workers covered by the Age Care Award, they received a 3% increase to their minimum pay rate. So this is how I'm just sharing the schedule here, so that it's, again, just so that it's a fallback to essentially check. Ideally, these changes should have already been implemented. So this should have been the weekly rates for the general aged care employee staff between the 1st of Jan 2025 to the 30th of June 2025. So anyone on your payroll as of 30th of December 2024 and moving into 1st of Jan this year and continuing to be an employee, being mapped to any of these classification levels, should have received this 3% increase. And it doesn't stop there. We did have the annual wage review, and with which the Fair Work Commission announced the 3.5% increase, which should ideally have been reflected to those already increased wages. So we are also sharing a schedule whereby, just to give you again, just to serve as that 1 point check, to see if all these changes, if the if the rates of your aged care employee general staff reflects the Fair Work increase that happened on the 1st of July 2025, which is outside of the Fair Work value, which is outside of the work value cases, but again, an addition or a top up that should have ideally happened. The other wage increase that we saw was for the direct care employees. That is the new schedule that we were speaking about. The aged care employee direct care between level 1 to level 6, that is from introductory to team leader. They did also have, they came about with the wages, the weekly wages, which should have been implemented from the 1st of Jan 2025. And these are the rates that should have applied from that point in time. The next slide is again for the same cohort of employees, that is the aged care employee direct care. This speaks about the rate that they should currently be on, that as of 1st of July 2025, which reflects the annual wage increases to the modern award. Now, under the SHATS Award Home Care, again, it was not just that the change that happened definitely saw that a new Schedule F was introduced, which clearly identified the cohort of employees that were providing direct care to aged care individuals at their homes, at their residences. But it also introduced, again, an increase to their wages. And those wage rates as of 1st of Jan 2025 to 30th of June is as reflected in this slide. I do apologize. It's a lot of wage reviews and slides, but I thought it is essential to just leave it here to ensure that those wage increases have happened to these identified cohort of employees, as it applies to your businesses. Now, as of 1st of July 2025, again, they should have also seen that 3.5% increase to the already increased rates as a result of the annual wage review. Now, these are the translation arrangements. So again, this is not a change that has come about. This is essentially a tool provided by the Commission to enable you to move your employees, to assess your workforce, and help you to map the employees falling within the definition of aged care, direct care, to the new schedule or the new classification structures that have been introduced as a result of the Jan 1, 2025 changes. So the table speaks for itself in terms of how do you identify, how to map the employees across, how do you move them across, and this is that enabling tool. And these translation arrangements should have been put into effect to ensure that the employees have been moved to the new structure without them being at any odds to receiving lesser entitlements, etc. And to that regard, if you notice, I've highlighted aged care employee direct care level 3, for instance, essentially because if there were employees who were classified as an aged care employee direct care level 2 and as an aged care employee direct care level 3 as of 30th of December 2024, the translation saw that under the new structure, the new classification structure that came into effect from the 1st of Jan under the Aged Care Award, they would have been moved to both these cohorts, level 3 being higher than level 2, and thus therefore also having a higher pay rate than the level 2, being moved into the same level, that is aged care direct care level 2 direct carer. So what the commission suggested in that case, not suggested, the protection that was offered was that there was a pay protection that was offered. That is essentially, even if that this applies only to those employees who were classified as an aged care employee direct care level 3 as of 30th December, whatever their hourly wage rate was as of 30th December, if it is higher than the level 2, as of 1st Jan 2025 under the new structure, then their the previous rate, that is a higher rate, would remain. And this was done to ensure that they would still get moved to the new, they would still get moved across to the new order in terms of the mapping, but at the same time, they do not, lose the entitlements that they were already receiving, and they do not, lose that benefit of having a slightly higher pay than what is now attached to this level. So the commission did provide for pay protection across a few levels in few of the awards, notably under the Aged Care Award. The Aged Care Employee Direct Care Level 3 is one that needs mention. Similarly, similar translation arrangements were also provided for the SHATS home care employees. So essentially, again, with pay protection being also included within the awards to ensure that certain pay points where the previous rate or their class as a result of the classification mapping, if it resulted that they are classified to a lower level, which would mean a lower pay, then that there is a pay protection and the previous rate, which is higher than the current rate, is retained for them. And any increases that happen would happen on those previous rates. So that is something that is worth notifying and could get complex in terms of depending on the size of your workforce, the nature of the workforce, and also how the translation mapping have come about and also the qualifications, the competencies, etc., that they held at that point in time. So this translation arrangement is a clear mapping as to how the employees should have ideally bridged over from the previous home care employee level 1 aged care disability to home care employee 1 aged care if it was found that the predominant purpose of their role was not disability support under the SHATS Care Award, but was providing direct care to the aged and elderly covered by the SHATS Award for falling within the SHAD Schedule F. So these translation arrangements, essentially, they are not changes, but these are essentially enabling tools and the fallback for us to go and see how to bring about changes to the how to implement essentially the key changes that have been brought about in the award. And this becomes crucial. Getting this wrong means that the employees could be classified wrongly, which means that they could definitely be when they are classified wrongly, that means that they are not receiving what they are supposed to be receiving, which could result in which could result in underpayment. So essentially, this is a piece of this translation arrangements are very crucial to ensuring that all your existing employees have been mapped rightly, and that moving forward, the new employees that come on board um, are mapped as per the classification structure that came into effect from the 1st of Jan 2025. And also ensuring that the pay protection for certain levels are retained. For instance, in this, the pay point 2, for instance, an employee who was previously a home care employee level 5 under the age care and disability, pay point 2 will be classified as a home care employee level 6 age care, which you can see is similar to pay point 1. So essentially, the pay point 2 would have been higher than the pay point 1. So the pay protection ensures that the pay point 2 rates would have remained even though the employee would get classified as a home care employee level 6 age care from the 1st of Jan 2025 to ensure that they receive the benefit of having the higher rate because they were previously on that higher rate. But now moving forward, they are classified and identified correctly under the new structure. One other change, key change that we saw about with the work value cases was was a shift or a move of certain cohort of employees from the nurses award to the SHATS award or the age care award based on the settings. That is under clause 4.4 of the nurses award 2020, nursing assistants who provided age care, specifically just age care, whether it be in a residential or home care settings, they would no longer be covered by the nurses award, and this has again already come into effect from 1st of Jan 2025. So based on whether the nursing assistants provided support direct care to direct care to elderly in a residential aged care setting or in a in home setting, they would have been moved either to the aged care award or the SHADS award based on the nature of the work that they are doing. And again, translation arrangements, translation mapping was provided under both the aged care award and SHADS award. We have captured that in this slide to show that, for instance, if you have an employee who's a nurse's assistant, who is a nursing assistant, assistant in nursing, falling under the nurses award with less than 3 months experience, they would be moved as a level 1 introductory employee under the new aged care direct care schedule that we just discussed in the previous slides. And while the nursing assistants got moved from the nurses award, again, there was a grandfathering that was done. That is any additional entitlement, 2 weeks, that is annual leave entitlements. That is if they had 5 or 6 weeks of entitlements that were guaranteed to them previously under the nurses award, which is not available to them under the aged care or the SHADS award, they would still have that benefit of that additional week in their annual leave entitlements. Again, that is something that needs to be grandfathered into their employment contracts, or something that needs to that the employers have to take caution when they move these nursing assistants. If you've had to move out nursing assistants from the nurses award to the SHADS or the aged care award, and again, this grandfathering is only for the existing nurses assistants as of 30th of December 2024 and does not apply to any new nursing assistants hired post that date, that is from the 1st of Jan. So these translation arrangements, again, which is mapping the assistants in nursing from the nurses award to either the aged care award or the SHADS award, these schedules speak about how that mapping should have ideally happened. It's pretty much straightforward. That is, if you have less than 3 months of experience and you were covered by the nurses award, and you are providing aged care assistance to someone in a home care setting, for instance, then you would be classified as a home care level 1 aged care care. And then based on the criterion mentioned on the left side, that's how the translation mapping should have ideally happened. Now, the other change, which we are not dealing in detail here, but I just wanted to give, I also just wanted to discuss on a very high level are the changes that we saw to the Nurses Award 2020, which did not, we already spoke about one of the changes, which was part of the work value cases and which were implemented as of the 1st of Jan 2025, which is moving out the nursing assistants from the nursing assistants providing direct care to aged care, to the aged care, whether in a residential or a home care setting. That which was implemented from the 1st of Jan. But other than that, if you have nurses, if there were enrolled nurses or registered nurses working within the aged care sector, then from the 1st of March 2025, there were a couple of changes that were implemented. Essentially, there were the annual progression from 1st of March, the minimum pay rates were simplified for the registered nurses, aged care employees, and annual progression through pay points for levels 1, 2, by removing the annual progressions through pay points for levels 1, 2, and 3. Essentially, what we are seeing now is a very simplified version of what used to exist and removing a lot of those pay points, and again ensuring that the commission also provides with it a translation arrangement, which essentially helps you map the progression. But the intent has been to largely simplify the progression pay points and removing a lot of those pay points and removing grades under level 4 and 5 for the enrolled nurses. I mean, sorry, for the registered nurses to again as a to simplify it and to ensure that the nurses are they can progress easily. There is a clear-cut way, a pathway for progression. At the same time, it also saw that the wages increased adequately over the period of time. So the first wage increases, the first tranche of increase that we saw was in 1st of March 2025, and there are further increases that are scheduled to happen, one in 1st of October 2025 and the next tranche in the 1st of October 2026. Similarly, we saw enrolled nurses in aged care award also saw increases happen to their pay rate. Again, there was a simplification of the pay points. The pay points that previously applied to them have been removed, and so there were there were around 3 or 4 pay points that applied to them. All of that has been removed, and it's now just a single pay point for enrolled nurses. And it could also include enrolled nurses in aged care who may have the duty to supervise other direct care employees. So again, it was simplifying it and ensuring that all the enrolled nurses, they start at the same level. And translation mappings have been provided for these transitions as well, which we have not dealt in detail within these slides, but happy to talk through it independently if any of you have any questions in relation to these changes, which should have again been implemented from the 1st of March 2025. Now, this is just the key changes in place, just in a nutshell, all the key changes that we have discussed so far. So the first wave of changes that we saw were implemented in Jan 2025, which saw new structures, which saw direct care employees being defined very clearly under the Aged Care Award, the SHATS Award, and proper classification structures in response to those direct definitions being implemented, translation mapping being put into place, translation arrangements being put into place to ensure that the classification mapping happens smoothly during this period of transition. Then we also saw wage increases for direct care workers and support staff. And under the Aged Care Award, general staff, a few of the general staff also did receive wage care increases. And those wage care, those general staff, that is certain cooks, certain chefs, cooks, cleaners, etc. There were a few increases that we saw to their wages as well. However, those increases have now post the 1st July increase. We do not anticipate an increase for them again in the next tranche of increases. We also did see that the assistants in nursing have been moved from the nurses award to the SHATs or the aged care from the 1st of Jan, and wage increases that we saw subsequently on the 1st of March 2025 for the registered nurses and enrolled nurses working in the aged care sector falling within the nurses award. We've already discussed changes to the aged care award, that is in classification, coverage, and the wages. These are the three broad heads under which we discussed those changes. Um, and similarly, even for the SHADS award, the key changes can be put under these three heads, that is classification, coverage, and wages, the tranche one that has already happened. Now, what are the upcoming wage increases? Under the Aged Care Award, we anticipate there is an increase that is scheduled for October 2025 under all three awards, that is the Aged Care Award, the SHADS Award, and the Nurses Award. At this point in time, all that we know is that under the Aged Care, this would be for some of the direct care workers, not the general workers. And the social community, under the SHADS Award, the tranche 2 that is scheduled for in October 25, again, it would apply to those classifications within Schedule F, that is the direct care workers. And the discussions and the deliberations indicate that it would be more or less, this more or less in the same. I mean, it would more or less be the same kind of increases that we have witnessed already, as in Jan 2025. But more details about what those changes would look like, what are the minimum rates that would apply from the 1st of October, will be made available by the Commission closer to the date. And we would also be circulating a newsletter or article around that point in time to ensure that you're all notified of those changes and to get and to be ready to ensure that the payroll is all set to go on the 1st of October 2025. There would also be further wage increases for registered and enrolled nurses working in the aged care sector under the Nurses Award 2020. And again, this would not be the last tranche of changes for them. There is another tranche of wage increase anticipated in the 1st of August 2026, just under the Nurses Award. Now, while we have reached here in terms of these are the key changes really in relation to the work value cases affecting the aged care sector, and most of these changes should have ideally been implemented. But again, it's better late than never. And if at all, it could have been that the changes have been implemented, but there could have been some errors. So it's a good point now that we have, it's around 6 months have lapsed and we have started the new financial year. It's a good time to check and see how you have implemented these changes and to rectify any errors or any issues that could have possibly come about essentially while mapping them over to the new mapping existing employees to the new classification structures, and to ensure that the pay protections assured to certain levels, to certain pay points across the aged care and the home care employees have also been implemented, because those rates would be different from the rates that would have otherwise applied to them. Now, as we reach towards the end of the key changes, I thought it's worth just giving you a heads up about further reforms that could again impact the SHATS award. On 16th of April 2025, the Fair Work Commission, they released a draft decision um, essentially addressing historical gender-based undervaluation and aligning wages with actual jobs value. So just to what this would mean for you is the key reform that is being suggested is a single unified classification structure that will replace the current schedules that you have specifically under the SHADS award. This applies solely to the SHADS award. So this is still in discussion. The commission has further requested submissions from employers, unions, etc., anyone of interest in this having employees being covered by SHAD could could be part of the deliberations. So one of the key changes that is being suggested is a single unified classification structure. So you would not see all those classification structures. I mean, the different classifications that we currently have as the social care, we have the daycare, we have the home, we have the aged home care, we have the disability care. Instead, it would be a single unified structure, and which would again mean that you will have to, it's going to come about with its own set of challenges in terms of moving and mapping over the existing employees to this new structure. And it also proposes removing daycare altogether from the SHATS award and moving it to perhaps the childcare services award. So nothing is set in stone at this point of time. These are just certain changes looming over. And that doesn't just affect the aged care, but it's worth noting considering that there would be some of you who could perhaps be affected by considering that it means that the Schedule F, which is directly of relevance to the aged care sector, would form part of one unified classification structure moving forward. So we'll stay tuned to see what those changes look like moving forward. Now, now that we have discussed on a very high level what those key changes were, what are your obligations? You're already aware of your obligations, that is review and reclassify all your aged care workers based on the new structure, check it across the translation arrangements, see if the mapping has been correctly done, issue new or varied contracts aligned to these correct classifications if it has not been done, notify the employees of changes and minimum and maintain that channel of open communication, even if it is a wage increase that is that is to happen, that is set to happen from the 1st of October 2025. Anything positive, I mean, these are all positive changes for the employees, but ensure that there is a proper channel of communication and that the pay slips clearly reflect these changes. Conduct audits to ensure any back pay entitlements are compliant. And also, it would be worth revisiting any employees whose levels would have fallen within the pay protection provisions to ensure that their previous rates have been retained, even if they have been moved to a lower level as a result of these classification restructures that happened from the 1st of Jan. And then again, as mentioned, plan for these further increases to wages in October 2025. Needless to mention that the compliance and risk in relation to this is definitely very high. The risk of underpayment claims from misclassification or outdated rates is definitely a risk that employers would face. Even if you are covered by a EBA, it would be worth looking if under the new structure and based on all these new changes and revisions that have happened to the wages and the classification mapping, how has that impacted your EBA? How has that impacted the rates? Would the new changes, in the light of the new changes, would your existing EB still pass the boot test? So these are a couple of things that the employers within this sector need to be mindful of. And again, the targeted audits from a Fair Work Ombudsman has already been announced. So essentially, stay ahead of your quarterly audits in any funding that you receive to ensure that those funds are being passed over to the employees in terms of those increased wages. Transparency is key. Maintaining documentation and record keeping would be of utmost importance at this point in time to ensure that each step that you have taken to either, whether it be to map to translate to move the employees over to the new arrangements, whether it be in terms of grandfathering any of their existing entitlements, protecting their previous pay, all that is properly documented and new contracts have been issued to the employees in that regard. So these are a couple of the things, the key aspects that I wanted to share with you. I appreciate it's been really very high level and a quick one at that. But hopefully this serves as a checkpoint for all the employers, for all of you who have attended, to go back and see whether how well you have fared, and perhaps to tap your back. You've got it right. I'll now hand over to Joe to discuss the next few slides.
Thanks so much, Christy. Well, that was a lot of information and everyone is probably thinking, wow, there's a lot to think of. So thank you so much for going through that with us, and how fortunate are we to have someone who's got such an interest in this industry that's keeping up to date with what's happening. For you to keep up to date, there are a few ways that you can connect with us. The first, as you can see on the screen, is our newsletter. So our newsletter is a complimentary newsletter that you can easily subscribe to. The details are at the end of the presentation, also on our website. We regularly put out information in our monthly newsletters, and this would be a great way of keeping up to date with any changes, particularly as Christy mentioned, some more SHADS changes potentially happening, and then of course the increases to wages on the 1st of October. For those of you on LinkedIn, follow our page. We also put up regular articles on topics of interest as well. And of course, you can have a look at our website. We have a number of resources available. We're always increasing the information and the products that are available to help from an employment relations compliance perspective. So some of the things that keep us busy, well, you can see on your screen, we regularly undertake classification and wage audits, as Christy's alluded to. That's something to definitely think about to ensure that you're compliant, given the level of the changes. We can conduct tailored workplace reviews, update policies, procedures, make sure that you're aligned with your strategic objectives, staff training and consultation packs. So these are just some of the things that keep us busy. And what this tells me is that our clients, our employers are broadly concerned about making sure they're compliant. So they talk to us regularly. We are a boutique employment law and IR consulting firm. This is what we do, and we provide support to employers across a range of things that employers need when it comes to the employment side of things. Now, I wanted to let you know of this other great initiative we've recently introduced, which is the HR Retainer Service. What this means is that if you're wanting to keep up to date, if you need some support from us through our monthly retainer, we've got three options that might be of interest: the HR support option, my HR advisor, and my HR business partner. And depending on what you're looking for, there's a set monthly fee. It actually pre-purchases a number of legal advisory hours from us. You can also, as part of your level of support, obtain our template contracts of employment. Actually, I should say all of those levels, our 4-pack, a bundle of award covered templates for full-time, part-time, casual and fixed term, you receive that as part of your retainer subscription, as you do a copy of our policies and templates. The number of templates depends on the level of retainer that you are seeking from us. It's a really great initiative. It's a really great way to ensure that if you're not if you need advice, if you want to check in on something, you can give us a call. It's part of your retainer arrangement. Now, the other two things I wanted to mention, if you've got your pens handy, are two dates that are coming up for our next two webinars in our 2025 webinar series. So our next webinar will be on Wednesday, the 17th of September. The topic is how to navigate the unfair dismissal claim. So as an employer, if you don't have a lot of experience in the Fair Work Commission, you may be also fortunate not to have experience to claim, or you want to make sure that you're up to date with what the process is involved, this is definitely a webinar to keep an eye out for registration to be part of. So that's Wednesday, the 17th of December. Our other webinar in our series is the 19th of November, and we'll be talking about essential policies as a workplace compliance tool. So this also might be a very practical reminder or update for those of you online. So note those dates down, but stay tuned. You'll see information about them coming up closer to the time on LinkedIn and in our newsletter as well. We're very pleased to provide the series as an initiative for people to connect with us and to stay up to date with topical matters. Today's session was the second in our 2025 webinar series. I'd like to thank you all very much for attending. I've had a quick look at our Q&A box. We don't have any questions, so I take it to mean that you've received some really great information. You know what you need to know, or at least you know what you do need to get to know. You will receive a copy of these slides in follow-up, so you'll be able to pore over them and spend some time to make sure that you're doing what you need to do and that you're being as compliant as you can be as an employer in the aged care industry. Thank you again for attending. We will conclude the webinar now and look forward to seeing you at the next one, unless we speak in the interim. Thank you very much.